The first star went dark on a Tuesday morning, and Dr. So-young Park knew her life would never be the same. She stood on the observation deck of Research Station Prometheus, her coffee growing cold in her hands as she watched something impossible happen. The Kepler 442 system stretched out before her like a painting of light and color, but now darkness crept across it like spilled black ink on white paper. "Dr. Park, you need to see this," her assistant Jiho called from his workstation. His voice shook with excitement and fear. "The readings don't make sense. This thing isn't just blocking light, it's eating it." So-young moved to his side and looked at the data streaming across multiple screens. Every instrument told the same impossible story. The strange field moving through space consumed every photon it touched. Not reflected, not absorbed like normal matter would do, but completely destroyed. Even the background radiation of space itself vanished wherever the darkness passed. "It's like someone is erasing the universe," Jiho whispered. The communication system crackled to life with urgent messages from across the galaxy. The Kithara Collective, a group of 12 alien species who had ruled space for thousands of years, sent emergency broadcasts on every channel. Their voices carried panic that So-young had never heard from the proud alien races before. "All sentient beings," the translation came through in perfect human speech, "we face extinction. The phenomenon we name Velanith Corvin spreads without pause. In your language, this means eternal darkness. Our greatest minds calculate total galactic consumption within 300 of your Earth years." So-young watched the tactical display as red zones marked the darkness spreading through sector after sector. Alien evacuation fleets moved like rivers of light away from the expanding void. Entire civilizations packed their lives into ships and fled toward the galaxy's edge. But something strange happened when the alerts reached human space. Instead of panic, human colonies sent back different messages. On New Sol, the terraforming crews asked for more fusion reactors. The mining station at Wolf 359 requested quantum communication arrays. The farming world of New Jeju wanted bioluminescent seed samples. "They're not running," Jiho said, reading the reports with growing amazement. "The humans aren't evacuating anywhere." So-young smiled for the first time that day. "Of course we're not. When has humanity ever run from a challenge?" She opened a channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Lee, this is Dr. Park on Prometheus. We have full sensor data on the phenomenon, requesting permission to begin adaptation protocols." The reply came back immediately. Admiral Minho Lee's calm voice filled the observation deck. "Permission granted, Dr. Park. All human colonies have the same orders. We don't abandon home. We make it work." Over the next few days, So-young watched humanity do what it did best: adapt and survive. The farming colonies started growing crops underground using artificial light. Cities began building fusion power plants to replace solar energy. Communication networks switched from light-based signals to quantum entanglement systems that could work in perfect darkness. The alien evacuation continued around them. Great ships from the Resonari carried Crystal Cities whole. The ancient Vorthok Empire moved their starforges to safe sectors. Species that had conquered galaxies ran from this new threat like children from monsters. "Dr. Park," Jiho said one evening as they watched another alien fleet pass by their station, "do you think they're right to be afraid? Maybe we should be running too." So-young looked out at the approaching wall of darkness, now only days away from reaching Prometheus. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived the climate disasters of the 21st century by moving underground. She remembered stories of her great-grandfather, who had lived through wars by building better shelters, growing food in impossible places, finding ways to thrive when others just tried to survive. "No," she said finally. "Humans have faced extinction before: ice ages, disasters, wars, plagues. We never ran. We always found a way forward." The darkness reached Prometheus 3 days later. Soyoung and Jiho stood in the observation deck as the last star disappeared from view. The station's fusion reactors hummed to life, filling their home with warm artificial light. The quantum communicators connected them to human colonies spread across the galaxy. Bioluminescent gardens glowed softly in the hydroponic bays. "It's actually beautiful," Jiho said, looking out into the perfect black void surrounding them. So Young nodded. The aliens saw ending, but she saw beginning. In that absolute darkness, something new was taking shape. Her instruments detected strange quantum signatures, patterns that looked almost like ... pathways. "Jiho," she said, her voice filled with sudden excitement, "start scanning for quantum anomalies. I think this darkness might not be empty after all." As the young assistant began his scans, Soyoung felt the old human spirit rising in her chest. Whatever this phenomenon really was, humanity would not just survive it. They would master it, understand it, and turn it into something wonderful. That's what humans did. That's what they had always done. The darkness was complete, but morning would come again. Captain Wu Jin, Kim had seen many strange things in his 20 years of deep space travel, but nothing prepared him for what lay ahead of his ship. The Endurance moved through absolute darkness toward a place that should not exist. His fusion torch cut through the void like a bright sword, the only light in an ocean of black. "Captain," his navigator Haijin Choi called from her station, "I'm picking up the colony beacon." Distance 200 kilometers, and closing. Wu Jin leaned forward in his command chair. On screen, the main display showed nothing but darkness at first. Then, slowly, lights began to appear. Not the harsh white glow of human technology, but soft greens and golds that pulsed like living things. As they drew closer, the lights revealed themselves as massive towers reaching up into the dark void. "My God," whispered his engineer, Dong-Soo Park. "They really did it." New Busan spread out before them, like a dream made real. The colony existed where no colony should be able to survive, in a region of space where the darkness had swallowed every star 3 months ago. Spiral towers twisted upward, covered in glowing plants that lit the structures from within. Transport pods moved between buildings, on streams of light, carrying people and supplies through the artificial day. "Colony control, this is Captain Kim of the Endurance," Wu Jin said into his communicator, requesting permission to dock. "Welcome to New Busan, Captain," came the cheerful reply. "Docking Bay 7 is open for you. Population report, 12,437 as of this morning, and we just had 3 more babies born." Haijin shook her head in amazement. Growing population in the middle of nothing. Only humans would try something this crazy. After docking, Wu Jin walked through the colony with Administrator Young Squee Lim. Children ran past them in the corridors, their laughter echoing off walls lined with phosphorescent moss. The air smelled of growing things and carried the warm buzz of a thriving community. "The vertical farms produce more food than we need," Young-Suk explained as they passed the tower, where golden wheat glowed in spiraling rows. "Bioluminescent crops actually grow better without competing sunlight. We're shipping surplus to other colonies now." They entered a park where families sat under trees that glowed like soft lamps. Children played games in the gentle light while their parents relaxed on benches carved from cultivated coral that pulsed with blue and green patterns. "This should be impossible," Wu Jin said. "No sun, no natural light, surrounded by that ... that thing that devours everything." Youngsri smiled. "That's what the aliens keep telling us. But here we are." Meanwhile, on Earth, something unprecedented was happening. For the first time in galactic history, alien leaders came to the human homeworld, not as conquerors or equals, but as confused supplicants seeking understanding. Ambassadors and Kia of the crystalline Resonari stood in the human council chambers, its translucent body flickering with patterns of light that showed deep confusion. 11 other alien species had sent representatives, all wearing the same expression of bewilderment. Honored humans, Zenthara's words came through the universal translator in perfect Korean. We do not understand your actions. Our scientists, our philosophers, our most ancient minds all reach the same conclusion. The phenomenon you call darkness means extinction for all life. Yet your species moves toward it like plants seeking sunlight. President Narration stood to address the alien delegation. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. Ambassador, with respect, your ancient minds may have missed something important. Zenthara's light patterns shifted to what humans had learned indicated offense. The Resonari have studied the cosmos for 50,000 of your years. The Cathara Collective has survived 7 galactic disasters. We know death when we see it. But, do you know life when you see it? President Song asked. She activated the holographic display system, and the chamber filled with 3-dimensional maps of space. These are quantum surveys from our colonies in the dark zones. The display showed the areas consumed by the phenomenon, but now they revealed something the aliens had never looked for. Within the exotic matter field, strange structures appeared. Tunnels of twisted space-time connected distant points, creating shortcuts that bent the normal rules of physics. We call them dark highways, President Song explained. Stable wormhole networks that form only in the absolute darkness. They allow instantaneous travel across distances that would take years at light speed. The alien delegates leaned forward, their various forms of eyes and sensors focusing on the display. Zenthara's light patterns shifted to indicate shock. Impossible, the ambassador whispered. Space cannot be restructured so easily. Yet it is being restructured, President Song said calmly. Our ships have used these pathways. Colony ships that should have taken decades to reach their destinations arrived in days. Communication that should have suffered from lightspeed delays now happens instantly. She smiled at the stunned aliens. You see death and run from it. We see change and adapt to it. The universe isn't ending, Ambassador. It's upgrading itself, and humanity intends to be part of that upgrade. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Outside the windows, Earth's cities glowed with warm light, while in the distance, the first tendrils of darkness approached the solar system. But the humans weren't afraid. They were excited. Commander Myung-han gripped the rail of the bridge as the Pathfinder moved through space that should not exist. 20 years had passed since the first star went dark, and humanity had learned to swim in an ocean of nothing. Entering Highway Junction 7, reported her pilot, Taeho Shin, his hands dancing across controls that would have been meaningless to earlier generations. Quantum current is stable. We're riding the fast stream to Andromeda. Through the viewports, Myung saw absolute blackness. Not the black of space dotted with distant stars, but true emptiness that hurt to look at. Yet somehow, the ship moved faster than light itself through tunnels of twisted reality that connected one side of the universe to the other. Transit time to Andromeda Outpost, she asked. 37 minutes from Seoul Station, Taeho replied, with a grin. My grandmother used to say it would take forever to reach another galaxy. Now I can visit 3 different galaxies and be home for dinner. Myung remembered when reaching the nearest star took years. Now, human colonies spread across distances that once seemed impossible. The dark highways had changed everything. They were roads made of folded space, bridges built from quantum mechanics, pathways that only worked in the absolute darkness that aliens feared. Commander, her communications officer Uni called out. We're getting reports from the new colony at Spiral 7. Population just hit 50,000. They're requesting more manufacturing equipment. Add it to the supply run, Myung said. Human cities now existed in places where no city should be possible. They floated in the cosmic deep, connected by the highway network like beads on an invisible string. Children born in these colonies had never seen a natural star, but they grew up in gardens that glowed with engineered light. The communications board lit up with messages from across the galaxy. Human colonies reported successful harvests, new discoveries, growing populations. Trade flowed along the dark highways faster than ever before. What should have been humanity's death had become their greatest expansion. But not everyone was thriving. Incoming priority transmission, he announced. It's from the Cathara emergency channels. The main screen flickered to life, showing chaos in what had once been the proudest civilization in the galaxy. Refugee ships packed with alien families drifted in overcrowded systems. The great Kithara worlds that had ruled space for millennia now struggled to feed their own people. The Resonari homeworld just went dark, reported intelligence officer Byung-ho Kim. That's the fourth major alien world lost this month. Their refugee fleets are overwhelming the remaining safe systems. Myung studied the tactical display. Red zones marked the areas consumed by darkness, now covering most of the galaxy. The remaining patches of normal space grew smaller each day, packed with alien ships and colonies that had nowhere else to go. Look at this, Byung-ho continued, pulling up another report. The Vorthok Empire is rationing food. The species that used to build artificial suns can't feed their people. The Vorthok had been legends before humans ever left Earth. They could move stars and reshape planets. Their technology made human engineering look like cave paintings. For 10,000 years, they had been masters of stellar construction, building wonders that lesser species could only dream of. Now their empire was dying. Commander Yuna's voice carried unusual tension. Incoming transmission from Vorthok High Command. Priority Alpha. They're requesting direct communication. Myung felt her heart skip. The Vorthok had never spoken directly to humans before. They barely acknowledged humanity existed, treating Earth's species like useful pets at best. Put it through. The screen changed to show Grand Admiral Kethmer, Supreme Commander of the Vorthok fleet. The alien's silver-scaled face carried an expression that no human had ever seen from their species. Desperation. To the human species, the Admiral began, his translated words carrying weight that made the bridge fall silent. The Vorthok Empire formally requests assistance. Myung felt the universe shift around her. In 10,000 years of galactic history, the proud Vorthok had never asked anyone for help. They gave orders, made demands, offered trade agreements from positions of strength. They did not beg. Our remaining worlds face starvation, Kethmer continued. Our stellar engineering cannot function in the consuming darkness. Our people die while yours thrive in conditions we cannot comprehend. We ask for aid. The bridge crew stared at each other in amazement. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was asking humanity for help. The species that had conquered star systems before humans discovered fire now needed rescue from the descendants of Earth. Pilot, Myung said, her voice steady, despite the historic moment. Plot a course for Vorthok space. Emergency speed. Aye, Commander. Eta, 43 minutes. Via Highway Express. Myung smiled as she felt the ship accelerate into the quantum stream. 20 years ago, the aliens had called the darkness the end of everything. They had run from it like children from monsters, abandoning whole civilizations in their panic. But humans had stayed. They had adapted. They had learned to see opportunity where others saw only death. Now the galaxy's former masters were learning what humanity had always known. Home wasn't a place you ran from when things got difficult. Home was what you built, wherever you were, with whatever tools you had. Set condition for refugee assistance, Myung ordered. Looks like we're about to have some new neighbors. Dr. Do-hyun Yoon had spent 3 years living in a place that should have killed him instantly. The quantum laboratory floated in the absolute center of the galaxy, where billions of stars once burned bright. Now only darkness existed, but it was a darkness full of secrets. The readings are finally making sense, Do-hyun said to his research team as they gathered around the central display. His assistant Jung-soo looked tired after months of analysis, but his eyes shone with excitement. "Show me, Do-hyun," requested Jung-soo. Activated the display, filling the laboratory with swirling patterns of data. "The exotic matter isn't random. Look at these quantum signatures. They follow patterns, like instructions written in the fabric of space itself." Do-hyun studied the information flowing across multiple screens. For 2 decades, humanity had assumed the darkness was some kind of natural disaster, a cosmic accident that destroyed light and consumed matter. But the patterns Jung-soo discovered told a different story. "It's not destroying the universe," Do-hyun whispered, understanding flooding through him. "It's rebuilding it." He called an emergency meeting with all the research teams working in dark space. Scientists from a dozen human colonies joined the conference through quantum communication. When everyone was connected, Do-hyun stood before the assembled group. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "we've been thinking about this phenomenon all wrong. It's not destruction, it's metamorphosis." The room filled with confused voices as scientists asked questions all at once. Do-hyun raised his hand for silence. "The universe is dying," he explained. "Entropy is approaching maximum. In a few billion years, all the stars will burn out, and everything will grow cold and dark. But this phenomenon, it's preparing for that moment. It's building new structures that can exist without stars, without heat, without the physics we know." Dr. Heejin's son from New Tokyo Colony leaned forward. "You're saying the universe is evolving, like a living thing?" "Exactly like a living thing," Do-hyun confirmed. "And we're not the first species to face this transition." Before anyone could ask what he meant, another voice joined the conference. Field researcher Yoon Park transmitted from the deep exploration ship Discovery, her signal crackling through quantum space. "Dr. Yoon's excited voice filled the laboratory. "You need to see what we've found. We've been exploring the ruins at Sector 0, and the structures here, ... They're incredible." Her transmission included visual data that made everyone in the conference fall silent. Ancient buildings made of materials that existed only in dark space. Technology that worked by bending quantum mechanics instead of using normal physics. Cities that had been built to survive in conditions no known species could endure. "These ruins are billions of years old," Yoon continued. "We found records, written in quantum patterns, similar to what you discovered. Other civilizations faced this same transition. The ones who ran from it, ... they died out. But the ones who stayed and adapted," her voice carried wonder and amazement, "they became something beyond what we can imagine. They learned to live in pure quantum space. They built societies that exist outside normal time and physics. They became part of the universe's next phase of existence." Do-hyun felt his understanding of everything change. The darkness wasn't humanity's enemy. It was a graduation test that species faced when the universe prepared for its next stage of life. A new voice joined the conference. General Sungmin Kong spoke from the exploration vessel Pioneer, now deep within the galactic core where no ship should be able to survive. "All teams," the general announced, "we've reached the source. What we found here changes everything." His transmission showed images that made the assembled scientists gasp. A massive structure floated in the deepest darkness, larger than solar systems and older than galaxies. It pulsed with gentle light that wasn't light, moving with purpose through dimensions that normal space couldn't contain. "It's a construct," General Kang explained, "built by civilizations that successfully made the transition billions of years ago. It's like a instruction manual for the universe's next phase. But more than that, it's a gift." The structure in the images clearly showed signs of intelligence. Chambers built for different types of life. Interfaces designed for various species. Pathways that could accommodate forms of existence that hadn't been invented yet. The species that built this faced the same choice we're facing now. "General," Kang continued, "stay and evolve, or run and die." They chose to stay. They learned to live beyond normal physics. And before they moved on to whatever comes next, they built this guide for the species that would follow. Du Haiyan stared at the images with growing understanding. They left us a roadmap. More than that, General Kong replied. According to the quantum records we're translating, we're the first species young enough and adaptable enough to actually follow their instructions. Every other civilization that found this place was to set in their ways to change. But humans, the general's voice carried pride and amazement. Humans adapt. We always have. That's why we're the first species in billions of years that might actually complete the transition successfully. Du Haiyan looked around at his research team, seeing the same realization in their eyes. The universe wasn't ending. It was growing up, and humanity had been chosen to help it take its next step. Admiral Ji-ho Kim stood on the command deck of the Morning Star and remembered his father's stories about the old galaxy. 50 years had passed since the first star went dark, and the universe had become something wonderful beyond imagination. Navigation report. Ji-ho requested from his officer. We're holding position at the galactic edge, Admiral, replied Navigation Officer Eugen Lee. All systems green. The dark highways are stable and ready for intergalactic transit. Ji-ho smiled as he looked out the vast viewports. The ship around him was humanity's greatest achievement. The Morning Star stretched 4 kilometers, built from materials that existed only in quantum space. Its engines could surf the dark highways between galaxies like a dolphin riding ocean waves. Behind them, what had once been called the Milky Way pulsed with new life, instead of scattered points of starlight separated by empty darkness. Billions of worlds now connected through quantum bridges that made distance meaningless. Cities floated in the cosmic deep, their lights not harsh white fusion but gentle glows that came from consciousness itself. Communications from New Sol Colony, reported Officer Sung-ho Park. They're sending population updates. Current count, 2 billion humans and 800 million allied species. Ji-ho nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy had become home to more life than ever before. Humans lived side by side with alien species who had chosen adaptation over extinction. The Resonari had built crystal gardens that grew in pure quantum space. The Cathera learned to sing songs that traveled instantly across galactic distances. The proud Vorthok, once masters of stellar engineering, had rebuilt their empire as quantum-connected city-states that existed in folded space-time. Admiral, his science officer Min Young called, excitedly, "We're receiving new signals from Andromeda. The readings are unmistakable." Ji-ho moved to the science station, where displays showed data streaming from the nearest galaxy. The patterns were familiar, but carried the weight of approaching change. "It's starting, isn't it?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Andromeda's dimming has begun. First star went dark approximately 6 hours ago, local time." Through the viewports, Ji-ho could see the distant spiral of Andromeda Galaxy. For millions of years, it had been an unreachable island of light across the cosmic ocean. Now, thanks to the dark highways, it was only days away by quantum travel. But more importantly, the civilizations in Andromeda now faced the same choice humanity had faced 50 years ago. Run from the darkness and die, or stay and evolve into something greater. "Communications," Ji-ho ordered. "Open a channel to all Andromedan civilizations. All frequencies, all languages, quantum broadcast." "Channel open, Admiral." Ji-ho took a deep breath, thinking of his father, Captain Woogan Kim, who had guided the first human colony into dark space. His father had believed that humans didn't abandon home, they made it work. Now Ji-ho would carry that same message to an entire galaxy. "To all civilizations of Andromeda Galaxy," he began, his voice carrying across impossible distances through quantum space. "This is Admiral Ji-ho Kim, of the human species. We know you are afraid. We know the darkness seems like the end of everything you love." He paused, looking out at the stars that would soon go dark in the distant galaxy. 50 years ago, our galaxy faced the same choice you face now. Most species ran. They packed their worlds into ships and fled toward empty space, hoping to escape what they called eternal darkness. The bridge crew listened in respectful silence as their admiral spoke to an entire galaxy. But humans stayed. We adapted. We learned that the darkness isn't death, it's birth. The universe is growing up, preparing for the next stage of existence. The phenomenon you call destruction is actually construction. Your cosmos is building roads between stars, bridges between thoughts, pathways that will let consciousness itself travel faster than light. Jiho gestured toward the displays showing their own transformed galaxy. Today, our worlds are connected by quantum highways that make distance meaningless. Our children play in parks that exist in folded space-time. Our cities float in cosmic deep, powered by pure information instead of dying stars. We have learned to live in the space between atoms, to build with consciousness itself. He leaned forward, putting all his conviction into the next words. The darkness isn't the end, it's the beginning of morning. But you must choose to see it. That way, you must choose to adapt instead of run. Admiral Eugen reported, "We're receiving responses from 17 different Andromedan civilizations. They're requesting immediate assistance." Jiho smiled with the same expression his father had worn when humanity first decided to make the darkness their home. Plot a course for Andromeda. Maximum quantum speed. It's time to teach a new galaxy how to see with different eyes. The morning star engaged its quantum drive and vanished into the dark highways. Behind them, in the space that had once been filled with dying stars, a new kind of light pulsed through the cosmic web. Not photons burning in nuclear furnaces, but pure consciousness flowing along quantum pathways that connected every living thing. The universe had learned to see with different eyes. Morning had come, not despite the darkness, but because of it.